First Contact Protocol. The first sign of the invasion came not with explosions but with silence. Across the globe, all communications ceased for precisely 12 seconds. When signals returned, massive ships filled the skies above every major city on Earth. Perfect geometric shapes arranged in flawless formations. Captain Nora Chen stood on the roof of the United Earth Defense Force headquarters in Geneva, studying the vessels through her tactical visor. Unlike the panicked personnel rushing around inside the building, she maintained her composure, analyzing the mathematical precision of their arrangement. They're positioned in a perfect icosahedral lattice. She observed to Major Thomas Rivera, who stood beside her. No random elements at all. Complete order, Rivera agreed, his voice tight. Military precision beyond anything we've achieved. The largest vessel, a perfect dodecahedron gleaming like polished obsidian, positioned itself directly above the UEDF headquarters. As they watched, a beam of emerald light shot from the ship to the ground 30 meters in front of them, and three figures materialized. The aliens stood approximately 2.5 meters tall, with exoskeletons that shifted between shades of violet and silver. Their bodies displayed perfect bilateral symmetry, with 6 limbs arranged at mathematically precise angles and heads featuring 5 compound eyes in a star formation. "I am Grand Marshal Sixel of the Galactic Hegemony," the central figure announced, its voice resonating with harmonic overtones that seemed to bypass the ears and vibrate directly within the human brain. "Your world has been scheduled for integration." Chen stepped forward, her uniform crisp despite the chaos around them. "I am Captain Nora Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. We welcome peaceful contact, but I'm not familiar with this concept of integration." All 5 of the aliens' eyes pulsed simultaneously. "Integration is not subject to interpretation. The hegemony has observed your species for 7 of your centuries. You have reached the technological threshold that necessitates supervision. You will join the hegemony as a Category 4 civilization under our guidance." "And if we prefer independence?" Rivera asked, his hand instinctively moving toward his sidearm. "Resistance is mathematically futile," Sixel stated. "The hegemony has integrated 1,247 species. None have successfully maintained autonomy. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your strategies follow predictable parameters. Your technology operates within limited dimensions." The alien raised one of its upper limbs, and a holographic display materialized between them, showing Earth surrounded by thousands of hegemony vessels. "The hegemony values efficiency. Accept integration willingly, and your species will be preserved. Resist, and we will be forced to optimize resources by reducing your population to a manageable level." Chen maintained her diplomatic expression. "How long do we have to consider this proposal?" "The hegemony values precision. You have exactly 96 hours. We will demonstrate our capabilities to facilitate your decision-making process." With that, the aliens dematerialized, leaving Chen and Rivera staring at empty space. "Get me a secure line to Admiral Takahashi," Chen ordered, her eyes never leaving the ships above, "and inform the Security Council that we're initiating Protocol Omega." 6 hours later, in a bunker 3 kilometers beneath the Swiss Alps, Earth's highest-ranking military and political leaders gathered around a conference table. The mood was grim as they watched footage of the hegemony's demonstration. A hegemony vessel had positioned itself over an uninhabited island in the South Pacific. From its underside, a perfect cone of azure energy projected downward. Where it touched the island, matter simply ceased to exist, not exploded, not vaporized, but removed from reality with surgical precision. The beam cut through the island like a mathematician's plane through a solid, leaving perfectly smooth surfaces behind. "They call it a dimensional scalpel," Admiral Takahashi explained, pausing the footage. "According to our analysis, it seems to selectively remove matter from our dimensional plane, following absolutely precise geometric patterns. No collateral damage, no radiation, no debris. Can our defenses stop it?" asked the Secretary General of the United Nations. Takahashi shook his head. Not directly. Our shields, our armor, they are designed to disperse energy or deflect projectiles. This weapon doesn't disperse. It follows perfect geometric parameters, removing everything in its path. Then we surrender, the European Union president said, her voice hollow. We cannot fight this. Actually, Chen interjected, standing up from her seat at the end of the table. Their strength is their weakness. All eyes turned to her. I've analyzed all data from our observations, the hegemony's technology, their tactics, their ships. Everything they do follows perfect mathematical patterns. They move in straight lines and perfect curves. Their formations never deviate from geometric precision, even their weapon. It can only follow mathematically perfect paths. She activated the room's holographic system, displaying the hegemony ship's movements over the past 6 hours. Look at their patrol patterns. Perfect polyhedrons. Their communication bursts, precisely timed intervals. Even their dimensional scalpel, it can only cut along mathematically perfect planes. Chen's eyes gleamed with realization. They're so advanced they've forgotten how to be unpredictable. What are you suggesting, Captain? Takahashi asked, leaning forward. Chen met his gaze. I'm suggesting we show them Project Chimera. A murmur ran through the room. Project Chimera had been Earth's best-kept secret for nearly 15 years, a revolutionary approach to space combat that had been deemed too unstable, too chaotic for practical use. The UES Chimera isn't ready. The Chinese premier objected. The last test flight nearly tore the ship apart. That's exactly why it will work, Chen countered. The hegemony's entire civilization is built on predictability and geometric perfection. They expect us to either surrender or fight conventionally. The Chimera doesn't do either. Admiral Takahashi rubbed his chin thoughtfully. The randomized quantum engines, the entropy weapons, the adaptive hull, Chen continued. All the things our engineers considered flaws are exactly what the hegemony won't expect. They fire along perfect planes. We'll show them what chaos can do. After hours of debate, the vote was unanimous. Earth would appear to negotiate while preparing its unconventional response. The next day, Chen and Rivera found themselves aboard the hegemony's command ship, escorted by tall, silent guards through corridors that formed perfect geometric angles at every turn. The ship's interior was a testament to mathematical precision, not a single asymmetrical element in sight. They were led to a vast chamber where representatives of various hegemony species sat in a perfect circle. Grand Marshal Sixel stood at the center. Captain Chen, Major Rivera, the alien acknowledge. The hegemony has agreed to demonstrate our full capabilities, so you may accurately convey to your leaders the futility of resistance. A massive screen activated, showing a barren asteroid field in a distant system. 3 hegemony ships moved into a perfect triangular formation, and energy began to build between them, forming a lattice of light. The tridimensional scalpel, Sixel announced with evident pride, the pinnacle of hegemony military technology. The energy coalesced and fired as a perfect pyramid of blinding azure light, traveling across space in absolute geometric precision. When it struck a massive asteroid, the rock didn't explode. A perfect tetrahedral section simply vanished, leaving mathematically perfect edges. The dimensional scalpel doesn't destroy, Sixel explained. It transfers matter to an alternate dimensional plane by severing quantum bonds along mathematically perfect boundaries. No debris, no radiation, only perfect excision. Chen kept her expression neutral. Impressive. Earth has nothing comparable. Of course not, Sixel replied. Your species still relies on chemical propellants and crude ballistics. You have barely mastered basic orbital mechanics. How does the targeting system calibrated? Rivera asked, his engineer's curiosity seemingly genuine. Sixel seemed pleased by the question. The dimensional scalpel operates along perfect geometric planes. Once the 3 ships establish the firing solution, it cannot be altered. This is why precise positioning and mathematical calculation are the foundation of hegemony military doctrine. And if the target moves? Chen asked innocently. Several hegemony members made sounds that might have been laughter. In space warfare, Sixel explained condescendingly, true technological superiority removes the need for unpredictability. Our targeting computers can calculate an object's movement with perfect accuracy, allowing us to position our forces where the target will be, not where it is. Fascinating, Chen said, mentally cataloging every tactical weakness. Your approach is certainly different from Earth's military history. Different? No, Captain. Superior. Your species still relies on chaotic tactics and inefficient explosives because you lack the ability to achieve perfection. The demonstration continued, with hegemony ships performing increasingly complex maneuvers, always in perfect geometric patterns. They carved asteroids into perfect platonic solids with their energy weapons, displaying surgical precision that was both impressive and terrifying. During a break, Chen and Rivera were escorted to an observation deck overlooking the fleet. "They're showing off," Rivera whispered. Chen nodded slightly. "And telling us exactly how they fight. Notice how every ship moves in predictable patterns, how their formations never adapt, how their weapons only fire along perfect geometric planes. They've never faced an enemy that survived long enough to require adaptation," Rivera replied. "Their weakness is their rigidity," Chen said, "and we're going to exploit it." When they returned to Earth, they were immediately escorted to the underground facility where Project Chimera had been hidden for years. Deep beneath the Australian outback, engineers and scientists worked frantically to prepare humanity's secret weapon. The UES Chimera looked nothing like the sleek geometric perfection of hegemony ships. It was asymmetrical, covered in seemingly random protrusions and curves. Parts of it appeared to shift and change even as they watched. "She doesn't look like much," Rivera commented as they observed from a platform above the hangar. "That's the point," Chen smiled. The hegemony would look at her and see a primitive cobbled-together mess. They wouldn't understand what they're seeing. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo, the project's lead scientist, approached them. Despite having worked for 72 hours straight, her eyes sparkled with excitement. "The quantum uncertainty drive is functioning beyond expectations," she reported. "The Chimera can move in ways that should be physically impossible." "Explain it to Major Rivera," Chen said. "He needs to understand what makes the Chimera different." Okonkwo gestured toward the strange vessel. "The hegemony ships use conventional propulsion, advanced, but fundamentally predictable. The Chimera doesn't move through space in the traditional sense. The quantum uncertainty drive creates localized fluctuations in probability fields." "In simple terms," Rivera asked, "the ship doesn't move through space in a linear path. It exists in a state of quantum superposition, potentially occupying multiple positions simultaneously until observation collapses the probability function. The Chimera can appear to change direction instantly because it's not actually turning." Chen added, "Reality itself is fluctuating around it." Rivera studied the vessel and the weapons, just as unconventional. Okonkwo's face lit up with pride. "The hegemony uses weapons that fire along mathematically perfect paths. Ours are designed to be fundamentally unpredictable." She pointed to undulating protrusions along the ship's hull. "These are entropy cannons. They don't fire a single beam but generate localized zones of increased entropy, causing matter to behave chaotically within the target area." "How do we aim?" Rivera frowned. "We don't, exactly," Okonkwo admitted. "The targeting system uses quantum uncertainty principles. The weapons officer selects a target zone rather than a precise point." Chen stepped in. "It's like the difference between a laser scalpel and a tsunami, Major. The hegemony are perfect surgeons, but they've never faced a force of nature." As the final hours of the hegemony's deadline approached, the crew of the Chimera prepared for their mission. The 30 men and women represented Earth's finest, not chosen for their discipline or precision, but for their creativity and adaptability. The hegemony expects surrender, Chen told them during the final briefing. Instead, they'll get their first taste of human chaos. As the countdown reached 0, humanity prepared to teach the galaxy's most advanced civilization a lesson in unpredictability. Project Chimera. Commander Eli Santos stood before the quantum mirror in his quarters aboard the UES Chimera, adjusting his uniform. Unlike the standardized attire of the United Earth Defense Force, his featured subtle asymmetries, a collar slightly higher on one side, rank insignia deliberately misaligned. Like everything associated with Project Chimera, even the uniforms were designed to embrace unpredictability. His reflections seemed to waver and multiply in the specialized mirror, designed to visualize quantum probability fields. It was a reminder of the revolutionary technology at the heart of the Chimera, a ship that didn't just navigate through space, but through probability itself. The door chimed with an irregular pattern, another deliberate design choice. "Enter," Santos called. Dr. Okonkwo stepped inside, carrying a holographic tablet that displayed constantly shifting schematics of the Chimera. "Final diagnostics are complete, Commander," she reported. "The quantum uncertainty drives probability fields are stable. Well, as stable as deliberate instability can be." Santos smiled. "And the entropy weapons? Successfully calibrated to maximum unpredictability. The targeting algorithms actively resist pattern formation." She hesitated. "Though I should warn you, even our simulations can't predict exactly what will happen when we fire them." "That's the point," Santos replied. "If we can't predict it, neither can the hegemony." His tablet buzzed with an incoming transmission. "Time for the final briefing. Walk with me, Doctor." As they moved through the Chimera's corridors, Santos noted how different the ship felt from traditional vessels. The hallways curved at seemingly random angles. Lighting shifted in intensity without apparent pattern. Even the floor plates were irregularly shaped, subtly forcing crew members to alter their gait unpredictably. The bridge itself was a marvel of asymmetrical design. Unlike the rigid forward-facing configuration of traditional starships, the Chimera's command center was arranged in what appeared to be organized chaos. Workstations positioned according to neural efficiency rather than visual symmetry. The bridge crew stood as Santos and Okonkwo entered. They were an unusual collection of individuals, not the disciplined, by-the-book officers typically found on military vessels, but creative thinkers, improvisers, and unconventional specialists. Lieutenant Zora Kamal, the ship's navigator, had been a championship jazz pianist before joining the UEDF, her ability to improvise complex patterns making her uniquely suited to handle the quantum uncertainty drive. Chief Engineer Maya Volkov had been dismissed from 3 prestigious engineering programs for excessive theoretical creativity before finding her home on Project Chimera. Weapons Officer Jin Park had been a chaos mathematician specializing in unpredictable systems. The main view screen activated, showing Captain Chen at UEDF headquarters. "Commander Santos," she greeted him. "The hegemony's deadline expires in 6 hours. Your mission parameters remain unchanged. Remain hidden until they initiate their first attack, then demonstrate the Chimera's capabilities." "Understood, Captain. The Chimera is ready." Chen's expression was grave. "Remember, Commander, this isn't just about defending Earth. It's about showing the hegemony that there are ways of thinking beyond their rigid mathematics. If we can disrupt their patterns, we might force them to negotiate rather than simply conquer." "We won't let you down," Santos assured her. "One more thing," Chen added. "Our intelligence team has been analyzing the hegemony's communications. They refer repeatedly to something called the pattern. It appears to be more than just a tactical approach. It's almost religious in nature." Santos frowned. "They worship mathematics." "Not worship, exactly. But they seem to believe the universe follows a precise mathematical structure, and that civilization should align itself with this cosmic order." Chen's eyes narrowed. "Which means your chaos might be more than just tactically surprising. It could be ideologically threatening. As the transmission ended, Santos turned to his crew. "You heard the captain. We're not just fighting a battle of ships and weapons. We're challenging their entire worldview." Dr. Okonkwo stepped forward. "Commander, there's something else you should know." She activated a holographic display showing the Chimera's quantum signature. When the uncertainty drive reaches full power, the ship exists in a state of quantum superposition. To observers using conventional sensors, will appear to be in multiple locations simultaneously. "How many locations?" Lieutenant Kamal asked. "Theoretically, unlimited. Practically, based on our calculations, between 3 and 7 distinct positions, constantly shifting. The hegemony's targeting systems will have to choose which one to fire upon. And they'll be wrong most of the time." Santos nodded. "Perfect. Now, let's review the mission once more." As the deadline approached, the hegemony fleet repositioned itself in a perfect dodecahedral formation surrounding Earth. From their hidden base on the far side of the moon, the Chimera's crew watched the alien ships move with mathematical precision. "They're beautiful, in their way," Lieutenant Kamal observed from the navigator station. "Like a living geometric proof. Beauty that wants to subjugate our planet," Santos reminded her. "Status report. Quantum uncertainty drive at standby," Kamal reported. "Probability field stable. Entropy weapons charged and ready. Added weapons officer Park. Chaos algorithms primed. Adaptive hull configured for maximum structural flexibility," Chief Engineer Volkov reported from her station. "Quantum camouflage active." On the main view screen, the hegemony's command ship began broadcasting to every communication device on Earth, the Grand Marshal's image appearing worldwide. "People of Earth," Sixel announced, "your time for deliberation has expired. What is your answer?" The Secretary General of the United Nations appeared on a split screen, her expression solemn but defiant. "The nations of Earth have considered your offer of integration and have unanimously decided to decline. Earth chooses independence." All 5 of Sixel's eyes pulsed simultaneously. A disappointing but mathematically predictable response. "Integration will proceed with optimization protocols. Resistance will be met with proportional population reduction." As the transmission ended, the hegemony fleet began to move, their formation shifting into an attack configuration. A perfect icosahedron, with points aimed at Earth's major cities. They're deploying dimensional scalpels, Communications Officer Dias reported, monitoring the hegemony's transmissions, targeting population centers for precise reduction. Santos straightened in his command chair. "Initiate quantum uncertainty drive. Prepare to execute attack pattern fractal." Throughout the ship, crew members moved with practiced precision that belied the chaotic nature of their mission. The quantum uncertainty drive hummed to life, reality itself seeming to waver around the Chimera as probability fields expanded. "Quantum state achieved," Kamal reported. "We exist in 4 probable locations currently. Execute attack pattern fractal," Santos ordered. "Target the nearest hegemony vessel." Unlike conventional ships that would have accelerated along a predictable vector, the Chimera simply ceased to fully exist in one location and partially manifested in another. To outside observers, the ship appeared to blur, seeming to occupy multiple positions simultaneously before collapsing into a new location altogether. Aboard the hegemony vessels, alarms blared as sensors detected the sudden appearance of an unidentified ship. The perfect formation of their attack pattern faltered momentarily as they attempted to track the intruder. "Fascinating," Dr. Okonkwo observed, monitoring the hegemony's reactions. "Their ships are attempting to maintain formation even as they respond to our presence. They literally can't break their patterns without direct authorization. Let's give them something to really worry about," Santos said. "Lieutenant Park, deploy entropy cannon, wide dispersal." Park's fingers danced across his console, the targeting system deliberately rejecting any suggestion of pattern. Entropy cannon firing. Now, unlike the precise beams of the hegemony's dimensional scalpels, the entropy cannon released what appeared to be a chaotic cloud of energy, with tendrils that moved in unpredictable patterns, almost like living things seeking prey. When they made contact with the nearest hegemony vessel, they didn't cut or explode. They simply introduced chaos into ordered systems. On the hegemony ship, perfectly regulated energy fields began to fluctuate. Geometric shields designed to deflect attacks along predictable vectors found themselves assaulted from seemingly impossible angles. Systems that relied on mathematical precision suddenly encountered variables that shouldn't exist. Direct hit, Park reported, grinning. Their shields are, well, not failing exactly. More like forgetting how to be shields. They're transmitting distress signals, Communications Officer Dias reported. I'm detecting confusion in their communications. They keep repeating the same phrase. Pattern disruption detected. The hegemony fleet's perfect formation began to shift as ships moved to engage the unexpected threat. 3 vessels broke away, arranging themselves in a perfect triangular formation to target the Chimera. They're preparing to fire dimensional scalpels, Dias warned. Initiate quantum shift, Santos ordered calmly. Lieutenant Kamal engaged the quantum uncertainty drive at full power. The Chimera didn't evade in any traditional sense. It simply ceased to fully exist in its current position, its probability field expanding to create multiple potential locations. The dimensional scalpels fired, 3 perfect beams of energy converging on the point where the Chimera had been, only to pass through empty space as the human vessel collapsed into a new position directly behind one of the hegemony ships. Target their propulsion system, Santos ordered. Entropy burst, focused pattern. The entropy cannon fired again, this time concentrating its chaotic energy on the hegemony vessel's drive section. Systems designed with perfect mathematical precision suddenly encountered localized zones where the laws of physics seemed to fluctuate. Ordered energy cascaded into chaotic discharge. The hegemony ship began to spin, its perfectly regulated systems unable to compensate for introduced randomness. Throughout Earth's solar system, the scene repeated itself. The Chimera appeared and disappeared, seemingly in multiple places at once, targeting hegemony vessels with weapons that didn't destroy but disrupted. The perfect formations of the alien fleet began to break down as ships attempted to track an enemy that refused to follow predictable patterns. In UEDF headquarters, Captain Chen watched the battle unfold with growing hope. As the Chimera prepared its new strategy, the reinforced hegemony fleet finished arranging itself into its new formation, a complex, multi-layered geometric structure that seemed to pulse with mathematical precision. From the command ship, Grand Marshal Sixel observed the rearrangement with satisfaction. The anomaly has been analyzed. Its chaotic patterns, while disruptive, remain within calculable parameters. Deploy the probability mesh. The hegemony vessels began projecting overlapping fields of energy, creating a vast web designed to capture and neutralize the unpredictable human ship, regardless of where it appeared. Aboard the Chimera, Santos received the update from Earth's monitoring stations. They've deployed some kind of energy web. Analysis. It's a probability trap, Okonkwo explained. Designed to catch us regardless of which quantum state we collapse into. Clever, really. They are using mathematics to account for uncertainty. Ready for contingency, Butterfly? Santos asked. Volkov nodded. All systems prepared for intuitive operation. Then let's show them why humans have survived despite all mathematical odds. Santos opened a shipwide channel. All hands, this is the commander. From this moment, we're flying on instinct. Trust your gut, not your computer. Contingency Butterfly commences in 3, 2, 1. Execute. Lieutenant Kamal disengaged the navigational computer and placed her hands on the manual controls, closing her eyes for a brief moment as if listening to music only she could hear. Then her fingers began to move, inputting commands based not on calculations but on pure intuition. The Chimera's quantum uncertainty drive responded, its probability fields fluctuating in patterns that defied mathematical modeling. The ship didn't just appear in unexpected locations, it moved in ways that had no discernible pattern whatsoever. When Weapons Officer Park fired the entropy cannons, he didn't aim at tactical weak points or optimal targets. He fired where it felt right, creating chaotic energy patterns that danced and twisted in ways no algorithm could predict. In the Hegemony command ship, alarms blared as the probability mesh failed to capture the human vessel. Impossible. Sixel's second-in-command, Sub-Marshal Krizin, declared. The anomalous vessel is moving outside statistical parameters. Adjust the probability models. Sixel ordered. Incorporate additional variance factors. We have, Krizin insisted. The human ship is defying mathematical prediction entirely. There is no pattern to their movements, not even a chaotic one that can be modeled. For the first time, Sixel's perfect composure faltered. All patterns can be modeled. That is the fundamental truth of the universe. Apparently not, Grand Marshal, Krizin replied. They are moving based on something else. On the Chimera's bridge, Santos watched with satisfaction as the Hegemony fleet struggled to adapt to their new strategy. Ships that had maintained perfect formation for millennia were breaking ranks, attempting to individually track and engage the human vessel. And failing. It's working. Okonkwo marveled. They cannot comprehend truly random human intuition. It contradicts their entire worldview. Target their command ship, Santos ordered. Not to destroy, to disrupt. Kemal navigated the Chimera through the Hegemony's probability mesh as if dancing between raindrops, while Park fired entropy bursts at seemingly random intervals. The chaotic energy struck the Hegemony vessels not in devastating blows, but in unpredictable pulses that cascaded through their systems, introducing tiny errors into their perfect calculations. On the command ship, Sixel watched in growing alarm as the probability mesh, a defensive system that had never failed in 10,000 years of Hegemony dominance, began to unravel. Increase power to the pattern stabilizers, the Grand Marshal ordered, a note of urgency creeping into its normally modulated voice. Recalibrate the mesh using seventh-dimensional mathematics. Pattern stabilizers at maximum, Krizin reported. The human vessel continues to defy prediction algorithms. As the Chimera closed on the Hegemony command ship, Santos gave his most daring order yet. Prepare for quantum phase assault. The bridge crew exchanged glances. They had simulated this maneuver only once, and the simulation had crashed their computers. Sir, Volkov cautioned, a quantum phase assault has never been attempted in actual combat. The uncertainty drive could collapse entirely. Mathematical probability of success, Santos asked with a slight smile. Volkov caught his meaning and returned the smile. Approximately 12.7%, Commander. Perfect, Santos nodded. The Hegemony would never attempt anything with such odds. They won't be prepared for it. The commander opened a ship-wide channel. All hands, secure for quantum phase assault. This isn't about calculation. It's about belief. Believe we can do the impossible. Throughout the ship, the crew braced themselves as the quantum uncertainty drive began to emit a harmonic resonance that seemed to vibrate reality itself. Quantum phase in 3, 2, 1. Execute, Kemal called out. The Chimera didn't just shift position. It temporarily ceased to exist in conventional spacetime, its probability field expanding to encompass the Hegemony command ship itself. For a fraction of a second, both vessels occupied the same space, their realities intertwined in a way that defied the laws of physics. Aboard the Hegemony vessel, perfect systems experienced the ultimate disruption, quantum uncertainty on a massive scale. Circuits designed for mathematical precision encountered probability fluctuations. Crew members experienced momentary quantum superposition, their perfectly ordered minds briefly touching the chaotic potential of multiple simultaneous realities. When the Chimera rematerialized 1,000 kilometers away, the Hegemony command ship drifted in space. its systems temporarily overwhelmed by an experience so contrary to their understanding of reality that their computational models couldn't process it. Direct hit, Park reported, his voice filled with wonder. Their systems are experiencing cascading disruptions. They're rebooting. Communications Officer Diaz looked up from her console, eyes wide. Commander, I'm picking up transmissions from across the solar system. The Hegemony fleet is in disarray. Ships are breaking formation. Some are attempting to establish new patterns. Others are holding position awaiting instructions. And Earth's forces? Santos asked. Taking full advantage, Diaz grinned. UEDF ships are implementing random attack patterns based on our tactics. Ground forces are deploying asymmetrical countermeasures against landing parties. The African Union has repurposed weather control systems to create unpredictable atmospheric conditions that are playing havoc with hegemony sensors. Dr. Okonkwo studied the tactical display with growing excitement. They'd never encountered a species that embraced chaos as a strategy. Their entire civilization is built on the premise that mathematical order is supreme. We're not just challenging their military. We're challenging their fundamental understanding of reality. As Earth's forces pressed their advantage, the Hegemony fleet struggled to reestablish order. Ships attempted to reform into geometric patterns, but each time they did, human forces would introduce new elements of chaos. Unpredictable attack vectors, random communication frequencies, erratic movement patterns. On the main view screen, Santos watched as a squadron of Earth fighters executed a maneuver that would have been considered suicidal in conventional warfare, flying directly into the firing solution of a hegemony vessel, then breaking formation in 20 different directions simultaneously, none following predictable evasive patterns. The hegemony weapons, programmed to target according to mathematical probability, couldn't adjust quickly enough. "We've found their weakness," Santos observed. "But they won't stay confused forever. The hegemony didn't conquer half the galaxy without being adaptable." As if confirming his words, the tactical display showed the hegemony fleet beginning to reorganize, not into their previous rigid formations, but into something new. Ships arranged themselves in patterns that seemed to incorporate elements of controlled chaos, as if attempting to mimic the unpredictability of the human forces. "They're learning," Okonkwo noted with professional admiration, "incorporating randomness into their models." "Can they duplicate our approach?" Santos asked. Okonkwo shook her head. "Not entirely. They can simulate chaos mathematically, but it's still just simulation, patterns disguised as randomness. True unpredictability requires intuition, creativity, free will, qualities I suspect are discouraged in their civilization." The Chimera rocked suddenly as energy washed over its hull. "They've adapted their weapons," Park reported. "The dimensional scalpels now fire in pseudo-random patterns." "Damage?" Santos asked. "Minimal," Chief Engineer Volkov reported. "The adaptive hull absorbed most of it, but they're getting closer to finding our frequency." Santos nodded grimly. "They're evolving their tactics. We need to do the same." He opened a channel to UEDF headquarters. "Captain Chen, the hegemony is adapting faster than anticipated. They're incorporating elements of unpredictability into their strategies." Chen's face appeared on the view screen, her expression focused. "We've noticed, Commander. Our analysts believe they're attempting to create mathematical models of chaos itself, essentially trying to reduce unpredictability to equations." "Can they succeed?" Santos asked. "Eventually, perhaps," Chen admitted. "The hegemony has likely encountered civilizations that employed chaos before, just not to the degree we have. Given enough time, they could develop counters to our approach. Then we need to escalate," Santos decided. "Take unpredictability to a level they can't model." Chen nodded. "I agree. Our scientists have been analyzing the data from your quantum phase assault. They believe we can apply similar principles on a larger scale." She gestured, and the view screen displayed schematics for what appeared to be modifications to Earth's orbital defense platforms. We're reconfiguring our defense grid to generate what we're calling probability storms, localized fields of quantum uncertainty that will make it impossible for the hegemony to establish stable firing solutions. That will help defensively, Santos acknowledged, but we need an offensive edge as well. Already in progress, Chen assured him. Dr. Okonkwo's research team on Earth has been working on implementing quantum uncertainty principles into our conventional weapons. The first prototypes are being deployed as we speak. As they conversed, the battle continued to evolve across the solar system. The initial advantage of surprise had faded as the hegemony forces adapted, incorporating limited elements of unpredictability into their perfect formations. Earth's forces responded by becoming even more chaotic, abandoning traditional military doctrine entirely in favor of strategies that resembled improvisational art more than warfare. In near-Earth orbit, a hegemony cruiser firing dimensional scalpels in semi-random patterns suddenly found itself targeted by a swarm of small, seemingly unarmed satellites. The hegemony vessel ignored them, its threat assessment algorithms dismissing them as insignificant, until the satellites activated, creating a web of quantum fluctuations that caused the cruiser's perfectly calibrated weapons to fire at phantom targets. On Mars, hegemony landing parties establishing a forward base encountered terrain that seemed to shift unpredictably beneath their feet, the result of terraforming engines reprogrammed to create localized gravity fluctuations following no discernible pattern. Throughout the system, humanity fought not with superior firepower or technology, but with the one weapon the hegemony couldn't counter: the inherent unpredictability of the human mind. Yet despite these successes, Santos could see that the tide was beginning to turn. The hegemony's initial shock was wearing off, their vast computational power gradually developing models that could anticipate even seemingly random human tactics. Their ships were adjusting their formations, incorporating pseudo-random elements while maintaining enough mathematical precision to coordinate their forces. "We need something more," Santos told Chen. "Something they can't possibly anticipate, because we can barely anticipate it ourselves." Chen was silent for a moment, then her expression changed. A look Santos recognized from their academy days, when she'd had a particularly daring idea. "What if we show them the pattern?" she asked quietly. Santos felt a chill run down his spine. "That's classified beyond top secret. How do you even know about it?" "Admiral Takahashi brought me in when we were considering all options," Chen explained. "I know it's dangerous, potentially catastrophic even, but it might be exactly what we need," Santos finished. "A pattern so complex it appears completely random, yet contains its own internal logic, a logic alien to the hegemony's understanding." Chen nodded. "If we're right about the quasi-religious nature of their belief in mathematical order, exposing them to the pattern might do more than confuse their tactical systems. It could shake their civilization to its core." Santos considered the implications. The pattern had been discovered accidentally during quantum computing experiments, a mathematical sequence that appeared completely random but contained deep structure beyond current human understanding. Initial research had been abandoned when scientists studying it began experiencing cognitive anomalies, becoming obsessed with finding meanings that seemed just beyond comprehension. "It's risky," he acknowledged, "but I think it's our best option." "How soon can it be implemented?" "The data package is ready," Chen replied. "We just need a delivery system, a way to inject the pattern directly into the hegemony's command and control networks." Santos smiled grimly. "I believe the Chimera just volunteered for another suicide mission." As they planned this desperate gambit, the hegemony fleet continued to adapt, their ships arranging themselves in increasingly complex formations that incorporated elements of controlled chaos. They were learning, evolving their perfect mathematics to account for human unpredictability. In the command ship, now functioning again after the quantum phase assault, Grand Marshal Sixel convened an emergency council of the hegemony's greatest mathematical minds. "This resistance is unprecedented," the Grand Marshal acknowledged. "The humans employ chaos not as a last resort, but as a deliberate strategy. They embrace unpredictability in ways that challenge our fundamental understanding of civilized warfare. They are barbarians, one council member insisted, using randomness because they lack the cognitive capacity for true mathematical precision. No, another countered. This is deliberate. They have discovered a fundamental flaw in our approach, our inability to model true unpredictability. Sixel raised a limb for silence. Whatever their reasoning, they have proven more resilient than anticipated. But the pattern remains universal. All things, even apparent chaos, follow mathematical laws. We must simply expand our models to incorporate higher dimensions of complexity. As the Hegemony Council debated, humanity prepared its most desperate gambit. A mathematical sequence so complex it appeared random, yet contained patterns that might shake the very foundations of the hegemony's belief system. The battle for Earth had become more than a fight for survival. It had become a clash of philosophies. Perfect order versus creative chaos, mathematical certainty versus human intuition. And somewhere within this cosmic struggle lay a deeper truth that neither side fully understood. That true complexity existed at the boundary between order and chaos, in the delicate balance between pattern and randomness that gave rise to life itself. The turning point. The pattern isn't just a mathematical sequence, Dr. Okonkwo explained, addressing the Chimera's senior officers in the ship's briefing room. It's a conceptual virus, a set of calculations that, once begun, compels the observer to continue following them, seeking a resolution that never quite arrives. Commander Santos studied the cryptic equations displayed on the holographic projection. To his eyes, they appeared simultaneously random yet strangely ordered, like a puzzle his mind desperately wanted to solve but couldn't quite grasp. "And you're certain introducing this into the hegemony systems won't harm their crews?" he asked, looking away from the display before the patterns could take hold in his mind. Okonkwo nodded. "The pattern doesn't cause physical harm. In humans, prolonged exposure leads to a mild obsessive state, an overwhelming desire to find the order within the apparent chaos. Our psychological profiles of the hegemony suggest their reaction will be significantly more pronounced, given their fundamental belief in mathematical perfection." In simple terms, Captain Chen added from the view screen, "The pattern is to the hegemony what optical illusions are to humans. Except imagine an optical illusion that challenges your entire understanding of vision itself." Lieutenant Commander Dias frowned. "If this pattern is so disruptive, why haven't we used it before now?" "Because it's dangerous," Okonkwo replied. "Not just to the hegemony, but potentially to any mathematical system. There's a reason this research was classified beyond top secret. We don't fully understand why the pattern has the effects it does. It seems to occupy a space between order and chaos that confounds conventional mathematical analysis." Santos turned to Chief Engineer Volkov. "What's our delivery method?" Volkov brought up schematics on the display. "We've modified the quantum uncertainty drive to transmit the pattern directly into the hegemony's communication network. The tricky part is getting close enough to their command ship to establish the connection. Their adaptive defenses are evolving rapidly, which is why we need a diversion," Santos concluded. "Something bold enough to draw their attention while we position ourselves for the insertion."